Hello.
Oh, right. Hello,
Good morning.
welcome. How are you doing? Well, it's afternoon for me, and I know it's morning for Dave, very early in the morning for Dave, actually. But I'm sure you guys are all coming in from all sorts of different parts of the world. So, welcome, I'm Phil Badham, Dave Allen just joining me. Some of you know us already, and some of you are new faces, but welcome to this webinar, Learn Design Pro webinar called Canva Campfire. We'll be introducing it for you in a little while as people are arriving already. I'd love to see that numbers are popping up there pretty healthily. While we're waiting for everyone to arrive, if you'd just like to pop into the chat where you're joining us from, and so we can welcome you in, let us know, and we'll keep an eye out for you. Already see some familiar faces and names from previous sessions. Welcome to Olivia again. Hello. And Ronaldo, good to see you, my friend.
Hey, Ronaldo.
Excellent. Good to
It's
have
been
you
a long
here.
time. Something
And
else that we're doing with roll call this time is that we have about 300 people that have signed up via the
awesome.
LinkedIn site. And what happens with LinkedIn is that if people aren't commenting on there, people think that there's no webinar that's happening. So if you're able to also put a roll call on the LinkedIn page, I'll throw
Mm,
that in the chat. That would let and signal a smoke signal to our other 300
a
attendees that
smoke
this is
signal.
happening.
Love it. I love it. Excellent. And I'm gonna just share my screen in a moment and we'll get cracking on with the main content of today. Um, so yeah, so hopefully Dave, you can see that okay?
Oh yeah, you're looking
Thumbs
good.
up. Fantastic, brilliant. And welcome. So we've got Kevin Hay from Newfoundland. John's joining us from Massachusetts. Hey there, John. And we got Virginia from Belgium and Martin from Sweden as well. Caitlin's coming in from Indiana. Donna in Rochester, New York. Yeah, yeah, no Rochester. And we've got Al from Washington State, your neck of the woods there, Dave.
Oh yeah.
And Beverly joining us. Beverly came from High Wycombe. We've got Ivana from Serbia. Welcome, welcome. And yeah, lovely. Thank you ever so much.
New
And Olivia,
York.
yeah, Manitoba,
Wow.
Canada. This is truly an international session today. Fantastic. Olivia's asking, will this be recorded, Dave?
Oh yes, we are going to be recording now. It's something to be aware of that we don't put the entire webinar on the web. What we do is we will cut it up and we will make little segments in our posts on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Here's our LinkedIn page. If you're up for that, if you want that content, that's where we that, and we'll put them into really little nuggets that are really easy to digest. So you don't have to watch this whole webinar with all of us, talking for most of the time.
Lovely. And welcome Ree from Japan and Maria from Madrid as well. Absolutely amazing. We need to pop this onto a map, Dave, I think, and at some point show where everyone's joining in from. Well, welcome everybody to this Canva Campfire. This is the first Canva Campfire that we've done. We're going to try and do one of these every year, and we're going to do it a little bit differently from some of the webinars that you may have been to of ours before. Now, typically we have a theme, something that we try and run through, whether it's feedback or digital storytelling. But what we thought we'd love to do, given that it's summer, is a really opportunity for us to come together and sit around the campfire and talk a lot about what's been happening. Look at some of the new features within Canva and how we think they can be used when you start back at your schools in the coming semester or coming terms. And we just really like to throw a whole lot of different things at you. But what we've also got, especially at the end, is we're going to give you a bit of a demo as well of Affinity Photo. So as you know, Canva has acquired pro design tools such as Affinity Photo, Designer and Publisher, and that gives you a whole load of different professional tools for you to get stuck into, and for your students to aspire towards as they move through the design processes with Canva. So we're going to give you a bit of a feel for that because we know that those pro design tools are going to be coming more and more to the fore as the year bears out. So keep an eye on what's happening with those pro design tools because they will become more and more important as we move through. But great to get in there early. They're all free, which is the amazing thing, right? They're all free and they're industry standard. But we're going to give you also the opportunity to get your hands on a special resource at the end of this session too. So as Dave says, get onto LinkedIn, have a little look at making sure that you're part of this. We're trying to build community here. We really want to build a community of Canva and Affinity users, and we'd love you to join the LD Pro way of doing things. We're very much about wanting to have connection. We really value what you do in the schools, and we want to find out the sorts of things that you're doing. The idea is when you come back, maybe for the next Campfire that we do, that you'll be able to actually plug into this and maybe present some of your own work and pioneering things that you're doing with Canva along the way. So this is what we got ready for the session today. We're going to be jumping about actually around the campfire, but essentially it's like a campfire circle. We're going to be thinking about what's been happening, what's new, what did Dave and I bring back from ISTE in Texas when we were out there last month, apart from lots and lots of swag and lots of great experiences and memories. And we're going to give you a few ideas about what we were doing around Canva there as well. We're going to have some stories as well, some things that have been happening in classrooms around the world that we've been into and that we've seen, and some of the Canva uses, some reflections, some thoughts about what we've got, about what's coming up, and what we call some Canva s'mores. So some little tips and tricks about new features in Canva that you may or may not be aware of. And as well, there'll be some opportunity to get your hands on some resources too. So that's really the sort of structure for the session. So Dana says she loves her Canva tote bag. Canva swag is always good, says Dave. I've got my Canva cap on today. This lovely charcoal black one that came through the post the other day. Dave, have you got a Canva cap?
You know, I'm more of the MIE kind of guy, Phil.
Right,
So,
okay.
you know, they don't send me the swag like they send you the swag. So I need to get to my Canva people soon and talk to them, because they keep sending Phil stuff and I don't get nothing. I don't have a Canva hat.
I will keep it that way. I'm happy with that. Dave, E2 Paris was epic, says Virginia. So we might have to have a look at that and see if that conference might be something worth going to as well. Nice one. Okay, so now when we were at ISTE, we were invited to contribute to a panel on the Canva stand. So Canva had a great big stand at ISTE in Texas, in San Antonio, and we were lucky enough to be invited as training partners to talk with other training partners about some of the key things that are on the lips of educators right now. And one of the questions we were asked by the moderator was about, what does it mean for students to be future ready? And it was quite an interesting one, because for me, I'm a little bit suspicious about the term future ready. It feels a little bit like the future is going to happen to us, and we have to have a certain set of skills that we're maybe not quite sure that those are the right ones, but we're going to be braced for this future that no one really quite knows what it's going to be. So I'm always a little bit suspicious about that. I'm more interested in what young people do in terms of forging a future and deciding what that future looks like for themselves. In other words, not just predicting a future that's going to happen to them, but predicting a future that they would like to see, and being a little bit more proactive with it. So, you know, one of the things that we're going to be thinking about is some of the work that we've seen with teachers doing across the world. And one of the ones comes from O'Day High School in Seattle, in Washington State. And I was lucky enough to work with a teacher called Bobby Muller, and lucky enough to be in his classroom as well, when he was doing some really amazing interactive work with his AP Politics class. And some of the things he was doing with Canva, which was innovative, was they were forming their own political parties, and they were having to create the manifestos and having to create all of the accoutrements that went with building a political party. And one of the things, of course, that we know that you can do in Canva is to create websites, and you can repurpose those websites from existing materials, such as presentations. So this is one of the things that we saw in Bobby's classroom, where the students actually created their own manifestos from political parties, where they had a platform for their own ideas about the way things should be. And this, for me, is not so much about being future ready as being future creating, thinking about how design tools like Canva, which are very much future, can actually serve those students by being useful and popular with them. So as part of this idea of introducing some sort of Canva s'mores, if you like, some things so we can roast on the campfire, I'm just going to drop out of this for a second and show you some of the cool things that I think are quite cool about presentations that have come along relatively recently that you may have seen, may not be aware of. But I'm just going to drop out of this, and I've got a presentation here which I quite like. And so this presentation it's actually a student's portfolio, and they've used a presentation to put together some of their photography work around pictures that they've taken in Colorado, and they've also put in some lovely wording as well. But what we might want to do with this portfolio is provide, this student might want to create it in different forms, as well as having a static portfolio that someone can walk through. Maybe she wants to record this, or maybe she wants to create a video from this as a piece that people could walk past and see, almost like an exhibition in a gallery. Imagine she's got all of her work up in the school, and then the first thing they see is her talking through the exhibition space that she's going to be in. Now, one of the things that popped up very recently, but may not have escaped people's attention, but if I select one of the slides here about Colorado scenery there, and if I just click down the left-hand side there, the presenter notes, where we could typically put in some notes that we might want to make about the presentation that we're doing, we can actually now, if we go down to here, generate notes using magic tools within Canva. So we know magic tools are the AI tools within Canva. So if I just click on generate notes, it's going to take a section of the presentation, it's going to look at this particular slide, and it's actually going to then generate almost a teleprompting script of that, of what she's actually trying to express within that slide there. So there's some very cool things, and I could do that for each of the individual slides that I want, is generate some individual notes that will run quite smoothly and neatly together. And I think this is great because obviously, but if we go back to that one, we've got some lovely notes there, and then we could take that, we could work on it perhaps a little bit there. I've already plugged Amy's voice into the Magic Write AI voice creation, so it knows how to write in Amy's voice. But if I then, I've got opportunities that I could present, I can go to present and record, and I know that when I go to the recording studio, I'm going to have the ability here to have my camera there, but on the right hand side I will have all of the notes for my presentation available to me as a teleprompter. So I'll be able to record, I have my face in camera, in situ in the presentation, but I've got those AI notes that have been generated for me as well.
I'm going
so
to have
that's
to interrupt you, Phil, a little bit,
Yeah, sure.
because I think something to talk about is, Canva is amazing for portfolio creation. And how do we use these tools to kind of uplift students, their mastery of learning, their ability to self-reflect, their ability to publish out to a larger community? So elevating their kind of the task at hand, knowing that a larger audience can see it. So how do you see these as real, true transfer styles or strategies to bring that learning into focus for the learners, Phil?
So do you mean what, using the AI notes and how that's actually supporting the learning, or is it taking a shortcut? Is that the sort of thing that you're asking me there, Dave?
Well, so the notes are going to give them the ability to reflect on their portfolios more, their presentations more, and
Sure.
how can they use this AI to really dig in a little more deep to what it is they're presenting, and to make that knowledge a little more rigid in their mind, a little more having that
Yeah, I think
transfer.
I mean, yeah, we can certainly look at that. I guess the key thing here is that with a portfolio that I'm presenting, this is a portfolio is going to be the best work that I've produced, right? I'm going to have a deep understanding of this work. So whatever the AI produces for me here is going to be a framework and a structure, and it's going to give me a way, and then I've got to go over that. I've got to overlay that based on, does this represent me? So I think something like a portfolio, using AI in this respect isn't me cheating. It's me using the AI to accelerate me towards a destination I need to get to, which is a completed recorded thing. So, I can look back through this and go, well, that's not me, or that doesn't, or it might say, actually, that's exactly what I was trying to capture, but couldn't put it into words. So for me, anything like this, where, I'm working with a portfolio, that's the end product of a piece of learning. So it's very different from if, for instance, I was using AI at the beginning of a piece of learning or in the middle of a piece of learning when I want to consolidate that inside my head. And then I might be using the AI to say something like, make this more memorable for me by creating a metaphor that I can use to understand it better, right? So how I prompt the AI will depend on where I am within the learning process, I think. So as Dana says in the chat here, one of the great things is that when you're working the recording in the editing studio in Canva is that you get directions for the presenter, where you've got in the AI there. The fact that it's allowing you to, I think, actually build your speaking skills. So the AI isn't just providing you with the text, but it's actually helping you to learn how to pitch and present better. I'm actually learning skills of presentation by where the natural pauses might land within that text. So it depends, what do I need to learn in this situation? It's not so much my knowledge of my content, but what I do need to learn, which Dana's points out pretty neatly there, is I need to learn when to pause. I need to learn when to raise my voice for emphasis. I need to know when to hit that right beat inside it. And that's probably the best learning here, which the AI is helping me with.
Yeah, I had a joke in there because I used to teach Waiting for Godot every year to my students, primarily because Samuel Beckett gives exact stage directions for every step of the way, so the students don't have to ideate around that. And they do a great job presenting it. So that's my little joke. I also want to say that we should be able to turn our cameras on if you want to. I know not everyone. Digital glow of the campfire.
The digital glow of the campfire. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, nice one. Especially if you've got those light rings as well, that'd be cool. Right, the other couple of things that I think have been quite neat that I've seen recently, you've got presentations like this, but how do you visually track people? Hey there, Kevin, how you doing?
And he's gone.
quick cameo. How do people understand where you're moving through the presentation, right? How do they understand where they are? Are they in the middle of it? Are they coming towards the end? How can they cognitively map where they are within the presentation? So some sort of innovative things is, we've got infographics charts that are available in the elements section in Canva. And actually, rather than just using it to, a progress bar here on a presentation might actually be a really cool way of helping my audience to understand where we are within, are we a third of the way through? Are we halfway through? Are we 3/4 of the way through? And we can put these little progress bars in by using the infographics tools to give us a sense of how we're moving forward through this. And also just some other things that you might also not have thought about is how do we, this picture may have been taken near Boulder in Colorado. Okay, well, what I could do is go to share and I can just copy that link for sharing. Okay, and if I go to in Canva, my little AI quick actions button at the bottom here and type in embed, okay, that brings up an action embed line. So I put in my Google map and fingers crossed, it will then embed a Google map, an interactive Google map, by the way, into my presentation. So when I'm actually presenting this full screen, if I double click, you can see that I can still interact with the map in presentation mode, and I can show people where roughly this picture was taken because I've got that embed code. So sometimes, we've got these presentations, we use presentations very linear, very ordinary ways, but if we start to just play around with some of the things within Canva, we can see that there are some super cool things that aren't always, right there in front of us. If we just dig a little bit deeper and think about connecting things together, then we can really augment the quality of our presentations with things like the progress bar and with these interactive embedded features in our presentation too. So there's just a couple of things that have popped in relatively recently, particularly that AI note creation, which I really, really like. And I think that's going to be super helpful for a lot of students if they've put in their information. So let's just drop back into the webinar again, and we will continue apace. So just a couple of s'mores there for you to think about. Now, some of the things that we've been doing over the last 6 months, some of you have pulled up, and thank you for coming to our webinars over the last few months or so. One of the ones that we did was called Effective Feedback with Canva, where we went into some of the great ways that we can give feedback. And we talk about being future ready and future creating. Well, how much better to be future ready than to know where your learners' starting points are and help them to improve. So one of the things that we also like to do is, if you've just joined us, is we'd like to make sure that everything that we do is connected with our Universal Design for Learning framework, which we're very much committed to. So if you're a school that uses Universal Design for Learning or other adaptive teaching strategies, we always make sure that our features are connected with the individual aspects of them. Otherwise, we're just shooting in the dark, really, aren't we, without that theoretical underpinning. And some of the things that we covered were, the way in which polls and quizzes, which appeared sort of late last year, have now become very much embedded into the Canva interface. We can access polls and quizzes directly from the Elements tab in Canva. We've got some lovely new templates that have arrived around assessment, so peer and self-assessment protocols have arrived within the templates, the Canva education templates. We know that Magic Write can also help us to get instant feedback about content, and also much more recent development has been Canva Sheets, okay, and the ability to collect data and analyze student progress. Now, I've been playing around with Canva Sheets quite a lot. I still haven't mastered it yet. I'm still learning what it can do really, really well and what it can't do really, really well. But I'm desperately intentional on doing a webinar on Canva Sheets at some point in the future when I've got enough to really make it worthwhile. But it's a good one because, sorry, Dave.
I was just going to say, one of the elements that we're really exploring, of course, is AI, responsible AI use. And
yeah,
Phil and I, back to the UDO framework that he mentioned before, is that when we look at that framework, the frameworks like that give us a real clear pathway to how AI could be used responsibly. I know there's a lot of concern about ensuring that students go through that struggle of learning. And we have a lot of techniques that we use with AI to ensure that the usage that we teach the students to use it is supporting that learning, is supporting that transfer. And I think that one of the elements that we need to get into as educators, maybe this is just a topic around the campfire, is really defining what responsible use is. Because students aren't innately going to know what it is. Teachers aren't going to innately know what it is. And so one of our focuses in a lot of our webinars is how is AI responsibly being adapted in classrooms within that framework.
Definitely. Yeah, and you did a great webinar on that, Dave, recently, where you were, looking at all the different ways in which our literacies have had to adjust to all the new technologies in different ways. So there is a cultural history of this. It's not just a brand new thing, but it has evolved and developed. So one of the things you also may have noticed on our feeds we've been trying to celebrate some of the work of educators around the world. And Stacey Lee Pick in South Africa, who works with a school for autistic children, has been doing some absolutely amazing work with Canva Code, which we'll explore in a little while. But she's also been, really exploring the full potential of how templates marry up with the AI production qualities of Magic Write for generating multiple choice questions in Magic Write, and then using the Canva quiz widgets and things like Canva Code to generate her formative assessment tools off the back of that. So we've loved seeing this, and one of the things that I really like, and it doesn't always play ball when I do this, but generally is that when I'm working with Canva in terms of generating formative assessment points or check-ins, is that there's lots of different ways that I can do it in more or less effective ways too. I could take a big chunk of paragraphs about the second law of thermodynamics, and I can create a quiz question out of the back of what it picks up in that paragraph. But sometimes it can be just as simple as selecting 3 individual words, and then Canva can create a quiz that allows you to sift through which of the pieces of terminology most reflects your understanding of that. So, for instance, if I was to take the word evaporation and shift click and take condensation, and then shift click and click precipitation, there's 3 aspects of the water cycle. And then if I go down to Magic Write here, you can see that I've got 3 new options that appear when I click on the Magic Write button. I've got generate quiz, I've got create summary, and I've got generate AI voice. Well, I don't need to generate AI voice at this point, and I don't have enough here for a summary. But generate quiz should, if it does what it should do, generate there we go. So I've now got an instant poll, okay, which uses the 3 words as my options for that quick check-in. So having introduced the evaporation, condensation, and precipitation, as Gonzalez says there, it's great for things like quick vocab review, because you can select 1, 2, 5 different words, and you'll know that it will generate a quick retrieval. It could be retrieval practice, it could be brand new set of terminology. So whatever it is, you're going to get some instant 360 feedback, either as a poll in the classroom traditionally, or you could share this, of course, live in the classroom, and they can interact with that directly, or they could even do it away asynchronously at home, of course. So, you know, it doesn't have to be live in the classroom. It could be an asynchronous set of quizzes that you can check the responses for later on down the line, if that's your bag and if that's what's required at that time. But, you know, I can click on it and I'll get the right answer, I'll get the wrong answer. So some nice instant feedback for me. But, you know, it's really helpful.
It's also scary, Phil.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing, right? If you're teaching and, you know, when I taught in the classroom, many times my students are nodding. They are giving me every impression that they're understanding every word I'm saying. And now I real time in my slide deck can say, let's check for some understanding. And it's scary to think that you might not get the feedback you want and that you'll have to pivot and you'll have to go back and maybe reteach or ask questions about why your lesson wasn't landing as expected.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, that lovely, you know, formative assessment gives us the ability to adapt our teaching live in the moment. Does the quiz data come back to you as a teacher, says Amy? Absolutely, it does. So, you know, I can see here total number of unique visitors. Sorry, it's the analytics on the page. Let's see if I can get that quiz back. Let's do it again, and then we'll be able to see that happen. So let's just generate that quiz. So you generate a quiz in the class. You can generate it from text you've already got. You can also generate it from elements and put your own questions in as well. So if I submit this question and get it wrong, okay, if you look up here, I've got responses, and that will tell me the total number of people that responded, how many people got it right. And if they are logging in under the Canva Education account, using the link that I've sent them, I will get their names as well. Okay, so I'll get all of that back to you. And I can see who's got it right, who's got it wrong. And I can view those responses either live or later on. It's absolutely up to you. I can also download them as a CSV as well. I can export them. I can get analytics, and I can even reset the responses for the next class as well coming in. Or maybe I want to do it at the end of the lesson to see whether they've remembered it, whether there's been a change between what they retrieved at the beginning and whether that's actually changed at the end. So I might be able to measure a little bit of progress perhaps and see what's happened. So that's some quite cool things. You've also got some other features, I think, if you look at the whiteboard feature in Canva. Now, you notice there, if you haven't already, when Canva created back in April, they launched Visual Studio 2, which is the idea that you can now place different multiple formats within the same presentation. So although I'm working in a Canva presentation, I can still have a whiteboard inside it. I could have a video inside it. I can literally flip between different formats within a single presentation. Okay. So let's just have a little look at here. So Dave's already messing about with my board, which is absolutely fine. And what he's doing there is just using some of the quick shortcut tools in Canva. So if I hit R, for instance, I can create a rectangle and or C for circle. Those things have been there for a while. But what we do have the ability now to do is to actually adjust not just corners, but actually number of sides. So we can make different shapes, not just in the whiteboard, but generally if we're using shapes in our designs. And that means that I could have different art movements happening here. And in order to differentiate them out, not just by color, I could even do it by shape if I wanted to. Anyway, it's just a new thing that's relatively recent, is that ability to change the number of sides on a shape, which is quite cool, particularly if you're teaching elementary maths as well. That's quite a nice thing to be able to do live in the classroom. So I can obviously do all my usual things. I can add in sticky notes by pressing S. But what I really like about this is, you know, the ability, again, as a neat way of organizing knowledge in the classroom. So if I get lots of feedback from students about what they already know about surrealism, well, maybe I want to highlight all of these elements to do with surrealism so far. And if I click on sort by topic, and again, it doesn't always behave, so hopefully it will have done. But if I move up here, it has behaved. That's good. So you can see that it's not just sorted it in terms of things that go together, it's actually now given me different columns that I can now say to my students, right, that group over there, I want you to put in some more sticky notes on anything you can think of and any surrealistic artists or pictures you come across where we see distortion. And I'd like you guys over there to find me any particular artists like Toshiriko who work with very strange perspectives and spatial anomalies. And you guys over there, you can be formulating a sort of summary of different surrealist concepts for me as well. And of course, I've got the ability, if I want to, just click inside these and then go back to Magic Write and click on Generate Quiz, and I can still do some live polling as they're doing collaborative mind maps in the classroom. And it's actually done in Spanish, quite interesting. Right, but there you go. Another couple of things you may not know about whiteboards, because they've sort of snuck in over the last few months. Double clicking inside a line allows me to add in connective tissue for the text. So if, for instance, if I want to double click in here and add in artist, I can, and that just means that that link isn't just connected to surrealism as a random connection, but it's actually got a label to it as well. And not only that, but if you click on some of these lines, you can see that you can now add different forms of connectors between them as well. So lines now, you can edit the ends so that you've either got arrows going backwards and forwards to show connections and show different sorts of relationships. So the whiteboard is better than ever, says Dave. Look out, Figma. Yeah, well, it's obviously got Figma in its sights if you're Figma users. But as you can see there, whiteboards still hugely, you know, really great to watching students collaborate, and you've got all these extra tools now that allow you to synthesize and organize the information in real time, which we love and we think are really great tools for learning as well. And the fact that I can just drop that into a presentation as well without having to come out and go to a separate whiteboard is just absolutely a dream come true. So it doesn't just have to be knowledge organizers, of course. It could be doing check-ins on feelings, could be doing metacognitive, you know, some before, during, or after to get students thinking about their own processes, thinking about their own feelings about the work, about what strategies they've used and how they could do it better next time. So lots of different ways in which we're seeing whiteboards becoming used in the classroom. And, you know, as well as sort of the art of giving feedback, we're just going to show you some of the ways in which we've seen teachers using some really, really effective tools that they've made in Canva or using with Canva in the classroom that feed into this idea of giving effective feedback, whether it's where they're going to, how well they're doing, or what they need to do next. So here's one. This is one I came across in Scotland, in Aberdeen last year. This is Jade, who is working with a P1 class. So we're talking very young learners here. Sort of about 4 years old, 3-4 years old. And within her classroom, what she tries to get them to do is to visualize the progress that she wants them to make in the classroom. Now, even though they probably can't read what's happening here, it sets out the intentions for the lesson for the adults that are in the room and for herself, and allows them to talk about where they think they're going to go. Now, these learners now, as young as they are very now much more inured into this idea about what to do when they get stuck, about what it's going to mean for progress within different aspects of their lesson. And she's actually got things like strategies. They're going to be using their fingers as a number strategy, as an adding strategy. And also we've got these golden boots down here, which represent golden learning, or things that happen in the classroom that she's going to point out. So she's actually creating a really nice visual language for how learning is working in her classroom by using some of the Canva templates, by using some of the Canva graphics. And actually she's using that with her teacher who works in the adjacent classroom, also a P1 teacher called Helen, and they're actually sharing the templates and they're working collaboratively on building these up together. And, you know, that's just one thing that Jade does with Canva. She is a huge Canva fan. So she always takes a lot of the freebies that I take it with me as well, which is great. And there are some, you know, other things that I've seen happening in classrooms recently too, which have been quite interesting. Some teachers love working Canva so much that they've replaced their interactive whiteboards with Canva. So in terms of switching to Smart or Promethean, they're actually using Canva in editing mode, okay, rather than being in presenting mode, in order to use it like they would an interactive whiteboard. So for instance, if I was taking these mathematicians and I wanted to maybe position them on a quadrant, and it might be that I want to have which mathematicians were pure and applied. Okay, so I'm just going to add that in there. So which ones perhaps were pure maths, and which ones perhaps were applied. Just copy that one out there. Oops. Another one over here, and then perhaps over, we might have another part of that quadrant. Oops. And we might also do it in terms of theoretical, practical, or we could do it by influence. Anyway, you get the idea. And the idea is that by having all of these up here, the students can come and position them and then come and explain why they think they put them in that particular quadrant, okay? Whatever the quadrant axes might be. And very simple to create, of course. You know, I haven't got Archimedes here, so let's just create one for Archimedes. Let's just make one there. It's going to make elements. There he is. Okay, I'll make a quick one of those. Group him together, pop him off to the side, and then I've got them. So I've got a nice interactive whiteboard activity using Canva that doesn't require any specialist interactive whiteboard software, just because I can reconfigure all the different elements within the main page. And not only that, but some classic tricks that you might use with interactive whiteboards. If you just use grouping, you can even bring on things like learning objectives from behind the slide. So get my learning objectives on there, bring them on for the first part of the lesson. I can always bring them back on anytime we want to remind ourselves what we're doing and just tuck them off with that little arrow, or by using just grouping and tucking things away at the side. So again, these are things that people have been using with IWBs for ages, but we can do it in Canva. So why switch, right?
Dare I say, look out, Promethean, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, why not? I mean, there are some other things that are classic interactive whiteboard techniques as well. This is a halving and doubling exercise for a primary school. So there's 12, drag it left to halve it to 6, pop it over to the right-hand side for 12. It's obvious what we're doing here. We're just using color, okay, to just sort of screen it. So it goes left, it halves, it goes right, it doubles, okay? Just really cute little ideas, but they're just using color, just using text, really easy to put together. Canva's a design tool, does, you know, everything that the interactive whiteboard software can do. So why not use it as an interactive display? It's just one of the great ways of doing that. Some other things that I've come across, Chris McGilchrist, fantastic teacher at St. Peter's the Apostles School in Glasgow. He created, using a Canva template, what he called the path to the presidency. He runs a politics class, and the idea is that when students get stuck, they visit different parts of the United States Constitution in order to get back into flow. So they'll visit the Senate, they'll go to the House of Representatives, right? But they all represent different ways of getting unstuck in the classroom when they don't know what to do. And some of them could be going to the Senate to ask another person. It's a really elegant way of metaphorically combining different autonomy strategies within a single template. Again, pinched from Canva, and well, not pinched, utilized from Canva. And then Fiona, wonderful music teacher at Clydebank High School, not too far away from there. And she's actually used Canva to create these progress sheets for her learners who are in the sort of lower secondary end. And this allows them, if we sort of zoom in a little bit on this, so different aspects of music that they're learning, like melody and rhythm and tempo, character, they can tick those off as they understand them and learn them, so they can see their progress that they're making in the classroom. So these are just some great things that I've seen teachers using Canva in the wild, Dave.
And Phil, we love to go on safari. We love to get into the wild, and our community. If you have a great use case that you'd love to share with others, and you want to be highlighted in one of our webinars or attend and be a co-presenter, we love that. And what we end up doing is we'll make some social cards for the event and put them out there, and we really highlight your use case, highlight it on Canva's Facebook page and our socials. So we'd love to invite you in, have you be a partner. Just DM us and let us know if you're interested.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And Sasha asked a really good question about what's the best way to show a mixed slide type presentation for use live in a class. I don't want the slides to be affected, because obviously if it's a whiteboard, they'll need edit access, I'm assuming. But if there's other slides in there, they'll be able to mess the slides up, which you don't want. I guess, do you know what I would do, Sasha? The simplest thing, I mean, there's two ways, isn't there? There's either obviously keep the whiteboard separate, but that's not what your question is about. So if it was me, I would make a copy of the slide deck and just use that. And then if it does break, you've got a backup. that would be my easiest solution to that. I don't know if that's the answer that you hope for, but that allows me to have a it doesn't matter if they mess it up, and that whiteboard will stay theirs as well. So maybe just duplicate it, always have a copy parked that is your master, if you like. Okay, so on the theme of templates, just a couple of new things that have appeared recently. Disney have added a load of Marvel templates or Marvel theme templates, presumably to advertise Fantastic Four, the new film. And so actually Canva have got hold of some of this licensed templates, and they've added them in. Now, this isn't an endorsement or anything like that. We're not selling anything. For me, the reason I put this in there is not just because it's new, but because as a kid, my gateway to literacy was through comics. And my gateway to the imaginative world that became a literature degree in the end probably started with comics. And copying superheroes off the back of comics became my introduction into the world of sketching and design and art. So pretty much most of my career, if I go right back to it, comes from the inspiration that I got from comics. This huge imaginative febrile ground to be used when you're working with things like these templates. Even if kids print them off and they use it to copy for their drawing, I think these are some really wonderful resources that keep kids busy during the holidays, keeps them thinking about design, keeps them thinking about imagination. So Dave, I just noticed on the recording that the spoken language has changed. You check the settings on the Teams there, but it seems to have switched. I don't think it affects us unless it's closed captions, but just to check. Anyway, so that's something to look out for, or if you want to tell some of your students about that, that's available. And there's some really, really lovely things that have been added into that are, as you can see, really lovely design elements around things like principles of design, consistency of color, unity, harmony, all the things that we can gain from looking at high quality design work. So that's been added recently, and you can, if you go to templates and you type in Disney or Marvel, you'll be able to follow that and make sure that always appears within your template space. And on the subject of sort of storytelling, do look out. We are going to do a webinar relatively shortly about storytelling using Canva tools such as video. Okay, so that's going to be coming along probably at the beginning of the next semester in September, October time. We're going to be looking at very much about not just what's the difference between information and story, but different story frameworks that we can use to help students to understand the design of story and how story communicates to us and how story can be used in all aspects of our learning, particularly in order to make learning more memorable as well. Now, as we move into the last part of the campfire, one of the other questions that was asked at the ISTE panel was, Pedro Pascal is everywhere, Stanley. He certainly is, isn't he? He's literally everywhere. It's all over my Instagram feed. I don't know, he seems to be in every single film at the moment. I don't know. He's obviously doing something right, but yeah.
Well, it's the Mandalorian.
That's what we're aiming at, so maybe we should talk to Pedro. Right, what does creativity look like for you in the age of AI? Now, this caused a bit of a controversy at the panel, did it not, Dave?
Oh yes, there was some controversy with your statement, but we stand by it. Yeah, we stand by it.
We stand by it. And basically what I was trying to say was this, is that creativity as a process looks to me the same as in the age of AI. All right, AI can accelerate that process, or it can involve itself in that process, or it can, but what it can't, creativity itself as a process isn't something that AI is going to massively adjust for me in terms of what has to happen in terms of the output. So my rather sort of obtuse and complex response to this was that AI becomes, like any other part of the creative process, another angle and another input that I can use and I can take in. If I'm saying, oh, creativity in the age of AI can now create a logo for me, then I haven't actually been creative and it hasn't actually improved my creativity. It's made a logo for me and I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own, but what have I learned and what have I actually gained from this process apart from feeling good about something I didn't make? So for me, my point of view is that Canva may say that AI supports creativity, and yes, it does, but AI does not replace the creative process. Otherwise, we're not talking about creativity at all. We're talking about production in my view. That's my view anyway. If you want to argue, please pop it into the chat. I'd love to have that. So as Dara says, we think of AI as an assistant in other areas. Why not as a creative assistant? You know, if I'm creating, I need other inputs from different people, from different things. I might make a mood board, right? Well, AI can serve me up a mood board. AI can serve me up other opinions. It can give me all that extra information that enriches my creative process. As Amy says here, opens up areas of creativity unavailable to people in the past. I can use AI to create music, yeah, by being able to connect things and pull things together. That would never have happened without AI tools. So I think that's a really good point, actually, Amy, about that idea that I can now put music together and actually experience the productivity of putting music together. However, I would still say that even though you might not have been able to make music in the same way, putting that music together, listening to it, deciding what you like, what you don't like, that's still the human part of that process. So although the quality of the production will be better, it's still your creative process. Anyway, Dave says you can have a conversation here and you can argue with me as much as you like. I love it. But that was what I said at the time. And one of the educators that I poured attention to was Stacey again in South Africa, because one of the things she's got when she's working with students who have autism is the need for these structured, engaging materials that they can get into, which are designed in a certain way that will keep them attached to that, will keep the progress out, make it predictable for them as well. And what you're seeing here is what Stacey created using Canva code. Now, I don't know if any of you have been using Canva code in order to create things, but Canva code essentially uses AI to generate widgets, to generate interactive media, to generate games, to generate quizzes. So it effectively will build a small application for you, or a small widget for you that you can use in your designs. So as you can see here, Stacey basically used Canva code to create a game that her students could play using this theme of being on a jungle adventure. It's essentially like a Scratch game that she's used. And I also had a go with one. This was my global flag challenge to get students to think about randomly generate 2 different flags and then have them think about the difference between the countries. So if I roll a dice here, 5 and 4, it's going to then give me 2 flags, one for France, one for China, and then it's going to ask me a question randomly about that. So which country uses euro as its currency? I'm going to get the answer wrong. And it says, how do population size and density differences affect their domestic policies? That's quite a big question, okay? I haven't got time to write an answer, so I'm just going to put I don't know, submit an answer, and then the AI is going to give me a bit of a quick analysis and tell me what I got right and wrong. So this is me just having a little bit of a play with 6x6 grids, which is a technique that I use in a coaching program called OTI. And it's just a way of getting students to be connecting ideas together and moving them from surface to deep learning. But I thought, why don't I try that rather than in an analog form with lots of bits of paper, and actually try and replicate that as a bit of Canva code. And what I've also seen in the classroom is using sort of little widgets, like classroom management widgets, like this class engagement radar. Table 2 are doing quite well. So we'll click on the radar and that will add points to that table to show they're in flow. I've made my own little clock timers as well that go backwards and forwards depending on what I want to achieve. But you know, depending on what I want, I can design and customize the widgets so that it fits into my classroom branding. Jen, do you have the prompt for the Flag AI challenge? I do. And I'm going to make a little note to make sure if you leave your email address at the end, I'll get that sent over to you. And you can have a play with that. So just some fun tips there. Have a little look at Canva code. I'm not going to demo Canva code to you right now because it's running the stream on here and it will just blow up, basically, I think, if I try that. Sod's law. But some other things that I've been using with the new AI tools. So for instance, the way in which we interact with Canva used to be through the create button here. But now we can go into what we designed today. And if I go to Canva AI and I say draft a doc, I'm going to say create a study guide on geothermal springs for a year 10 UK some AI tools as well, and it's not Canva code, obviously, but some of that, using that opening section when you're choosing, do I want to design, do I want to use Canva code, do I want to draft a doc? You know, it'll do some really, really great work in terms of mapping out resources that you can then work on with your students. There we go, geothermal strings, a geographical study. And from there, I've got a doc that I can now open up. I can start working with Magic Write and saying, right, tell me the things that students most get wrong on this topic. Give me a quiz. I can start to build up that resource ad infinitum, and that really saves me time. It's giving my students some really valuable structured knowledge as well. So thank you, Amy. Yeah, we'll revisit all of your comments at the end, and we'll see when I've got that quote. I'll send the radar over to you in terms of the code, because now in Canva code we've got a copy code button, which is absolutely awesome. So we can copy code now. In the past, the only way you could save your code in Canva code was to click on a button that saved it to a doc, but now we can actually copy the code directly and either send it to people, or we can paste it into a more advanced code editor. Thank you, Amy. We'll definitely get those across to you too. So let's come back a little bit here, and we're just going to go back to the home because we are running out a little bit of time. So before we go, what I would like to do is just talk to you about one of the elements that came up at the moment. I was doing some training with a school in St Albans on using Affinity with the art department. Now, as you know, Affinity are the pro design tools within Canva, and one of the things that I put onto the page was us doing a King Lear theatrical poster. It actually came out of some of the recent work we've done on Summer of Affinity, which is resource sets and some online workshops for educators. So thanks, Al. Good to see you here. And Beverly, thank you very much. Yes, of course, we'll send out some of those prompts. So this King Lear one that we did was using Affinity. Now, as I said, pro design tools with Canva are already here. You've already got access to them. But you know, if you can start to use them as they become more and more integrated in with Canva, you'll be ahead of the game. So I'm just going to spend the last 10 minutes just doing a little bit of a demo to show you the sorts of things that you can do using those pro tools. So you can see the difference between working on something like it in Canva and something when you're using those pro tools in Affinity. And they're not dissimilar to some of the things that you use already in Canva. They just have more options and properties available to you. And if you're an Adobe user, they'll look as familiar as anything as well. So let's drop out of this for a moment and let's go into Affinity. Now, this theatrical poster resource will be freely available. If you would like it, then DM us on LinkedIn after the session today and we will send you the resource and the assets, okay? So we're not gatekeeping it per se, but we'd like people to have it that are genuinely interested in that. So let me just come out and we'll go into Affinity. Now, I'm working in Affinity Photo, which is very much the photo editing tool. And what I'm going to do is recreate some of it in 10 minutes. I'm going to go fast. It's not a instructional demo. I'm just literally going to power through this, right? So I'm going to start off with a new document. It's A4, and I'm going to make sure that I've got a transparent background for this so that we're not working with any white backgrounds. And I'm going to create, this is the space that I'm going to be working on for my demo. Right, what I'm going to do now is start to prepare my King Lear picture. And I'm going to go to File, Place, and pick up my first image, which is this fisherman who I call Weathered Man. So I'm just going to pop him onto the screen there. Okay, just size him down a wee bit. Okay, and you can see here that it's actually kept the aspect ratio because the aspect ratio is locked. So I'm just going to pull him in. Okay, and then if you look over on the right-hand side, you'll see that I've got a layers panel. Now you can see layers within Canva, but over here I've got some pretty cool tools that I don't have in Canva. And that's the ability to add non-destructive adjustment layers. So if I click on this adjustment layer and select brightness and contrast, I can then make some very cool adjustments to this picture. Okay, so I'm just going to increase the contrast of that to bring the texture of that face forward. And you can see that the brightness and contrast is working on my Weathered Man face there. Now, what the beauty of this is, even though I've got an adjustment layer over the top, I can actually in Affinities drag that adjustment layer so that it becomes part of the layer underneath it. So I can actually means that I can stop adjustment layers from affecting things below it, right? So that's quite a cool thing already. Let's add some more layers on, because that's what we do when we're making composites. And this time I'm going to add in this picture called rocks. Let's just drop it onto the page, spin it around a wee bit, blow it up. Okay, just make it a bit bigger. And we're going to pop that there. And again, we're going to add some more adjustment layers to this. So these are non-destructive. So whatever we're doing to this, it means that the image itself is not going to be affected. If we want to take the adjustment layer off, it will return back to its original image. Okay, so sorry, that was the wrong one. Just take that out for a second. I need to add in a black and white adjustment layer, and then we're going to add in a contrast brightness adjustment layer. I'll just turn that down a little bit there. Okay, just turn the contrast up. So that's all well and good. So having done that, what I'm now going to do is start to click on the rocks image there, and I'm going to use my erase brush to basically bring out what's underneath. So this erase brush is going to screen through using what we call a mask to what is underneath. I'm going to make sure that the hardness is down to 0, so it's nice and soft. And then as I click through, you can see that the image is going to start to peek out. See, you quite like that, Beverly. You enjoying that? So that's really, really nice. Okay, we could even maybe make the face a little bit bigger. It sort of looks like it's coming through the rocks elementally there. And so having done that, again, I'm just going to keep saturating this with layers. So I'm going to click on place, and this time I'm going to add in a layer called rain. Just drop that in there, and I'm going to pop rain to the top of my layer stack over here. Again, give it a little bit of a spin. Okay, there we go. And this time I'm doing what I can easily do in Photoshop as well, which is basically use my layer tools on the right to scroll through these different blend modes. Again, you can't do this in Canva, right? But you've got all of that power at your fingertips in Affinity. So I'm going to come through until I get to subtract. And when I hit subtract, I've got this lovely textured, weathered feel to my picture now with a little bit of color on there as well. Nice try there, Dave, in the chat. Good luck to you. Right. So having done that, what I might want to do now is just increase the size of my image. I may want to make this sort of custom space. So I'm just going to go to document. I'm going to resize the document. I'm going to make it a bit taller than it was. Okay, just increase it to 400. And then, Dave, keep an eye on the time for me, won't you? And then I'm just going to resize the document. Oops, not the document, beg pardon, I should resize the canvas. There we go. So anchor that to the bottom.
Everybody give us a heart if they want Phil to finish this demo and not speed through it. Just give us a heart if you don't want him to speed through it. Oh, look at that. So you're good,
right,
Phil.
okay.
You're good.
Oh, good, good. Right, okay. Okay, so quick rectangle tool. Just gonna add some black up to the top there, and then I'm gonna use my raise brush tool again to just screen out a little bit of gradient. There we go. And then finally, I'm just going to add in my text. So quick text tool. I'm going to type in, oops. Let's just make sure I'm on the right layer. Right, I'm going to add in some text. It's very small at the minute. So bring in my character. Okay, and I'm going to make this pretty big. There we go. Leah, change the color. See all the character panels that I'm using here, again, these are all things that you could potentially do bits of in Canva, but not to the same level, not to the same degree of control that I have. So everything that your students learn when they're working in Canva, they can bring directly into these spaces and understand that, yeah, I'm working with formatting character, but now I have infinitely all sorts of different properties available to me that I didn't have before. And I can also do super cool things like clipping masks. So where I've got my Leah ready there, and I can bring in a texture. Oops, let's just start that again. So I'm going to go to File, Place, and this time I'm going to bring in my grunge texture. I'm just going to park that over the top of that. And I'm actually going to put that put that below Leah. So there's Leah, there's the texture. And then I'm going to click on Leah, right click, master below, and that's now given me the clipping mask. So that has gone behind inside there. And then the last little bit of showing off to do is to go to effects, click on 3D, and then add in some really lovely three-dimensional bits to this. Let's get rid of bevel. Let's go to 3D, and you can see there, you know, I've got some really lovely lighting. I can even change the direction of the lighting. Again, it's all about, it's not so much about what you can't do in Canva, it's about control, and it's about the means to get the effect that you absolutely want to achieve. And the last thing I'm going to do, rather than fill it all off, is just bring in my final image, which is the Joker, and then do a little bit of clever selection. So here's my Joker. I'm going to click on the owl tool on the left-hand side. That gives me my object selection mode. And what I'm going to do is just draw inside the bits that I want to keep. And when they are selected, they will go green. There we go. So that's all looking nice. And then once that's ready, a little bit more there. Just going to go invert pixel selection, delete that. Okay, and then I should be able to just size that down. Left a bit at the edges there. I can get rid of those in a moment. Bear with me a second. Just erase those bits out, I think. It's slowing down a bit, Dave. My computer's starting to whir. That's why. Anyway, what I'll do, the erase brush is being a bit temperamental. I will just erase out the bits that I don't want. There we go.
Yeah, we know that when you're doing demos and sharing, it's a big risk, especially when you're using these type of tools and sharing video, because it takes up so much of the computer's energy. But I can tell you from years of experience at top photography for 12 years, and I've been using Affinity Photo for a while now, and it is a smaller application and a little more agile than some of the other competitors that I've used in the past.
Yeah. So at this point now, I could add in King Lear, I could add in maybe a Shakespeare quote, William Shakespeare Presents, whatever. But essentially, I've just shown you some of the layering and selection capabilities that you have with these free tools, which you would otherwise have to pay quite a lot of money for if you went for the paid alternatives. But these are free. If you have a Canva education account, you have these tools for free. Okay, and Dave can talk through how you download them as well. But just a quick demo there for using that. And if you want that theatrical poster resource, do please DM us on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to send you the walkthrough and the pictures that you can use. They're all Pexels, so they're all completely royalty free. And yeah, so please do let us know. A couple of other things before we go. Always have a look at the apps in Canva. There's some great apps that you can use that have come along. Things like AI generating storybooks, avatars for learning. Thanks, Sasha. Yeah, this is brilliant. Goodbye, Photoshop. Thanks, Katie. Katie's from Affinity there. Just want to say Affinity have some lesson plans with slides as well, with short video demos for students. So do grab yourself a copy of the template from the official Affinity website. Thanks, Katie. Good to see you.
Thanks for coming, Katie. We love to have our Canva Affinity team here. And Katie, did you want to say anything to the attendees about Affinity before we go? Maybe how to best connect with the community or learn about it. I know this is new to a lot of people, so a voice like yours might be helpful here. You might not be able to unmute.
No, you smashed it, she said, so that's fine. That's all right.
All right.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah. Gonzalez says, can I go back one slide a sec? There you go, Gonzalez. Yeah, so just a few that I've been playing with recently in the apps button in Canva that I think are quite fun. Ghibli AI particularly there is a little bit more control over how you can generate resources. You've obviously got integrations with Teams. We know that it's integrated with Classroom. but also, you know, getting Canva integrated into your teams is pretty effective. And then also things like the AI avatars when you want to, you know, you've got your text, you've got some avatars, and you want to have that third person voice, if you like. We know that video is coming to Canva. We know that video, you can all create small video in Canva already. And we know that there's better video capabilities coming down the line, but they're not ready for education yet. But they will be. Longer form video will be coming down the line, we are assured. So in terms of us, where are we going in the future? Well, our core courses for Canva and Affinity remain. We have what we call the Canva 3C series, which we're running with teachers. The core, which gives you the basics. Craft, which is about how the teacher uses Canva. And then the third one, Create, which is about getting students to use it in a design effective way. And then finally, we've got Introduction to Affinity for any teachers, regardless of who you are. But we know that CTE teachers in the States particularly might be interested in finding out more about our essentials courses for publisher, Affinity, photo and designer. Look out as well, summer of Affinity is over, but who knows, winter of Affinity may be coming along as well. So we'll see how we go. Yeah, absolutely. Some winter themed Affinity activities. I'll put
And
my
just to have a shameless plug here, Phil, if you are a decision maker for PD, please reach out to us. But if you know decision makers in your organizations that are looking for professional development in Canva and Affinity, we are here to help. So please connect us with them.
Yeah, and thanks for listening. Thanks for coming to the first Canva Campfire. We've tried to throw lots of things around it rather than just having a one theme. And we intend to do this maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. But if you felt it was valuable...
getting a standing ovation, Phil. You're getting a standing ovation. You see that?
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin, there you are again. Don't go away.
No, it's been great. It's been good to see you all. And, you know, we've had, I think this is our biggest webinar yet. We've had a really good number of attendees here today. And it's really lovely to see you coming back. And let us know what you'd like to see as well. I mean, we come up with what we think you might want to see. But if you want to connect with us and tell us anything that you'd like to see from us, any particular Canva features or any particular questions or problems, please send them our way and we can really get that community spirit going. Yeah, as many people join that Learning Designer Pro team would be absolutely wonderful. So thank you ever so much, guys. Have a good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you're coming from as far afield. So thank you ever so much and take care. We're going to stay on the line just for a couple of minutes if you've got any questions or you want to ask anything, but otherwise, you know, enjoy the rest of your summer and get out there while it's sunny.
I will now change the settings so everyone can unmute.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to mute people throughout the entire time, but let me get into the
Thank you, Amy.
things here.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Katie. Thanks for coming, Sasha. Hope everything's going well in the new post. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Beverly Kim. Thank you.
Well, how about this?
Thanks for having your camera on, Beverly, as well. It's lovely to see your reactions and yeah, good to see
Beverly.
you. Thank you, Nadine, as well. Thank you, John. Thanks, Gonzalez. Thank you, Sally. And yeah, it's great. Thanks, Al, for coming along too. Great to see you.
And if anybody wants to say anything, feel free to unmute. You should have access to your mics now. We had people from all over the world, Phil.
Yeah, we had Japan, we had Newfoundland, obviously London, Belgium, Sweden. That's great. That's great. That's the prompts. Yeah. Let's make a note, Dave, to get those prompts out. I need to go fishing through my
We're already getting some DMs in the LinkedIn inbox. So that's a great place to reach out to us, our LinkedIn inbox through Learning Designer Pro. We do like to ensure we're sending these to real people, and you know, email is generally not secure enough for us. So if you could just DM us, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Oh, Beverly, you want to unmute? Let's see here. Yeah, there you are.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me? Oh, hello.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you so much. I'm absolutely blown. Thank you to both of you. Genuinely, I've never been on a webinar like this before, and that was just so entertaining. But also, I just feel like my mind is exploding. I'm just well, I've just what I've done is I've I've said I'm retiring, but I'm actually not. I think I'm taking a year as a sabbatical just to upskill because there's so much out there. And as a teacher, you just don't have the time to enjoy it. You don't have the time to sort of play around. And I think I had so many hats that I was just juggling, and it just became so intense. And I just thought, you know what? My husband's retired, and he said, come on, why don't you join me? So we're going to be traveling for this year, but actually, I'm going to be spending my time sort of, attending webinars like this and going, oh my gosh, this is so exciting to be able to do it. So thank you. Thank you so much for being my first and for being just, really inspiring me today.
Thank you very much.
Lovely.
And keep
Thanks
in
for
touch
coming.
with us. Let us know where you're going, and let us know if you'd like to contribute anything, to our posts and things like that. Just we really love to, be there on the journey. And
As
help
they
be
say,
wonderful.
Beverly, the greatest way to learn is to do. So if you want to participate and produce something with us,
I'd
maybe
love to.
maybe
It'd
the
be
next
brilliant.
time you'll be demoing Affinity Photo.
Oh, bless. It's genuinely so exciting. And I'm just so looking forward to being able to play, because I think that's one thing as teachers, we just never get given the time, and I think if we could do anything in the curriculum or anything in the school day is to be able to just give teachers that time to just sit down and talk and play and get these ideas out there, because it's, I've put so many notes down and I've pinged messages to everybody going, oh my gosh, look what I've just found. So yes, so you'll be exploding soon.
Oh,
Thank
fantastic.
you
We
so
look forward
much.
to it.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank
All
you. Really
right. Thank you
appreciate it.
so much for your time, and I will keep in touch with you both. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
That's lovely. Yeah, it's really great. Thank you to Beverly. And yeah, we're going to close down the campfire now. So great to see you all, and we look forward to seeing you back here again soon.
Okay.